Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to our community. So excited to be here today with my special guest, Molly Crusen Bishop, who I know many of you in the I've Decided family know very well. She's an active member. But before we get into that, I just want to remind everybody that we're coming to you from the I've Decided studios, and this podcast, Our Community, is sponsored by I've Decided and the Greater Peoria Family YMCA, where I am employed and happy to be a part of. And I'm just excited to be here today, Molly, and to learn a little bit more about you and to have a conversation with you about this weekly winning word of lucid. You know, it's always interesting when Kim comes up with these words. I know. And I know she doesn't make them up, but when she, and I always have to,
we think she does.
Yeah, I always have to think, I'm not sure I know what that word means.
Yes.
Right? Because some of them are so rarely used, right? But there's always a connection. And we're just going to have an opportunity to talk about that. But before we do, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself in case there's anybody out there who doesn't know who Molly Crusen Bishop is.
Well, thank you for having me. First of all, I'm happy to come and love promoting I've Decided, love interacting with other I've Decided members.
Sure.
So that's great. I studied with Cindy Bird and Kim for over a year and earned my life coach certification with I've Decided in end of January of this year. And then I've been working with someone that I coach since that time. Mm-hmm. And it's been a big blessing in my life. And I love paying it forward. And I look forward to many more years of what's to come.
Yeah. I would imagine that, being a life coach, right? And you think about that, you're helping someone else, but when you're doing that, there's always so many rewards that you get back, yourself through that process.
Oh yeah. Well, when I first started in January of, I guess, 2021, with getting coached, oh my gosh, I had so many goals. I had so many things that I had wanted to accomplish and knock off my list. And sure enough, you're able to learn with those 10 pieces of the puzzle how to focus and just get clear, linear, as linear as we can in this imperfect world, right? As clear cut of a line to get from point A to point B. If you put the time in and you do the work, you're most likely going to get the results that you're working for. Now, obviously, it's not perfect. No, nothing's perfect because we're up in heaven. Right. But as far as here, I just started accomplishing one goal and then another and then another. And it's we're a personal development company, but it's been able to help me professionally as well.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
You can have anything from weight loss to, are you living lukewarm? Do you want to figure out what your dreams are? Some people don't even know what their dreams are. They don't even know what they want.
Yeah.
So a couple conversations with Kim or one of us can help you quickly get to the heart of what you're wanting to do.
Yeah. So you've had the opportunity to be on both sides of the table, right?
Yes.
Being coached by somebody in the I've Decided community, and now you're a coach helping others in the I've Decided community. I think that's really cool. You have an interesting perspective, I'm sure.
I do. And I think honestly, and I think Kim and other coaches would attest to this, is that we should be coachable our entire lives. Until the day that I don't take a breath on this earth, I want to be coachable and I want to help others with what I know. Yeah. Paying it forward and also improving who I am and learning from those around me.
Yeah. I think that's really important. The ability to be coached, right, is important. And in my mind, I always go to athletics because I do a lot of that, but that is so relevant to our everyday life too. You have to be coachable, right? Because there's always something for us to learn, right? And we always make mistakes, and we have to be able to lean into others to help us get over some of those challenges.
Yeah. And go to the word of the week, lucid, which is actually, that's something that I use. It's a word I use all the time because I have very lucid dreams. We talked about it Monday with our coaches confabulation Monday morning. And I'm like, oh yeah, I said, I never even thought the way I dreamt was even different but I have dreams where I can touch things and smell things and walk around. And I just thought it was normal. And and then talking to other people, I'm like, okay, maybe it's not quite such a normal thing, but for me it is. And then a lot of times I'll have what I call a vision. Like I had a vision of a historic 5K, and it was around 2016. And I thought, oh, I need to do a historic 5K for Peoria. And then I started working for Central Illinois Landmarks Foundation, and I talked to them. It was the first event I ever did on my own. And I said, let's do a whiskey barren run and walk. And then, so those visions can come in dreams or when you're daydreaming or just praying or planning and following through on those things. I think having that clear vision is what goes from the dreaming process when you're sleeping to when you're awake, and then taking action on those goals and dreams. So it's a great word.
But I agree. It is a great word. And the definition is simple, right? And you've kind of explained it. It's clearly expressed, easily understood. And for me, when I first saw the word, I had to think about it for a minute. What does that even mean, right? You've seen it throughout your life. You've probably used it at different times, but I'm not even sure I've used it in the right context when I put the definition to it. So I wonder if there's other folks out there that even are challenged with that too. But, Kim wrote a great article this week.
Oh, yeah.
And she always does. And, 6 questions, right, that I think we really need to reflect on to help us become more lucid. And doing that in the framework of helping to define our success and understand. And like you said, some people don't even know what it is they're trying to achieve, right?
Oh, I know, absolutely.
And if you don't have that goal in mind, how can you define success if you don't have at least established a goal?
Oh, yeah. Let's start with the first question. It's what makes your heart smile? What gives you that deep warmth feeling of peace and joy or a spark? And that is the best way. I love there's an expression, and I've seen it in memes. The things that you're good at or the things that bring you joy aren't by accident.
Yeah.
So you can start with that.
Right.
What personally makes you happy? Do you love eating at certain kinds of restaurants? Do you like cooking? Do you like sewing? Like what you can take just the most everyday things and start with that, and then maybe find a way to connect a bigger dream or accomplishment with that.
Yeah.
One of the things I've tried to do is with history. History is my passion over everything other than God and my family. And connecting and teaching people about history. So I try to connect it in, and I've been able to do that with quite a few things that I do. Not everything. But, it makes, they say you're lucky if you do things you love, it's not like you're working. So,
right. Yeah.
So I think it's really important to find out what makes your heart smile.
Yeah. I grew up in a household where, my father modeled the challenge of doing something he didn't love. Right. Okay. And being able to experience, and I was able to see that. And he was a great man, worked his butt off for many years, going to be 80 this year, and lived a great life. But you knew what that looked like, right? Of going to a job every day that you didn't necessarily love, right? But it provided for what your family needed and all of those things, and it was great. And so I learned at an early age to really think about that, right? And I think you said something earlier about, taking time to understand and appreciate what it is that you do love and makes you feel good, what makes your heart smile. And I think that's really hard to do in today's world. Just to take time to get away from all the distractions. We all have the cell phones, and you got a large family you got to care for, and all of those things. And it's really hard to take that time and just separate yourself from all of those distractions and really think about what is it that does make me happy. Because I don't think I take enough time to really think about that. And that's a challenge in itself.
It is. And it's honestly, the older I get, I just turned 50 a few months ago. And the older I get, the faster time flies by. I think it's a universal thing.
True.
I'm telling you, a month is like a day. And so it's really important for me, especially setting that example for my kids. When I started writing about 10 years ago, I wanted to go all in with no fears, or just walk through the fears, because of course we always have fear.
Sure.
I wanted them to be able to follow their dreams. and say, hey, you know what? Well, I made a goofball of myself on this podcast. You know, I'm not afraid to go get interviewed on a, you know, about in this historic house or whatever it is that, you know, I end up getting myself into with the media, because they always find the things that we're doing.
Right.
And so I think, it's important now more than ever, living in this high tech answer. Everybody wants your everything all the time. Right. No turn off, no boundaries. Right. It's more important than ever that we stop and take those hikes, walk by the river, play with your dog, go swimming with your kids, read that book. And sitting, you know, having those warm, just down times, that's when you get your answers. Yeah,
I think you're right.
For sure.
And you have to be intentional about that. So it's an important question, but you've got to allow the time for that to really develop, I think, in your mind and in your heart too, so that you fully understand what that means.
Yeah, and you're right. The word intentional and lucid together, that, you know, it's very, very, that's a strong combination, because, you know I have several events coming up in the next few weeks. I have to be very intentional and very lucid with that. I'm getting a downtime or my alone time every day, a certain amount, minimum half an hour. Wow. And hopefully 2 to 3 hours, which is hard to do when we're all working and have families. But the more you do it, the better you get at it.
Yeah,
so
true. Practice makes perfect,
it
right?
Does.
So the next point, or the next question, I guess, is around understanding what makes you feel good about yourself, right? Yeah. Which kind of dovetails with the first point of what makes your heart smile. But what makes you feel good about yourself? How do you evaluate that?
Yeah, that is definitely, that's something, because, you know, my generation, at least my house, I was raised, you weren't supposed to talk about that. Yeah. You know, it just wasn't, you know, be humble, right? Be humble, have humility, all that kind of stuff. But I like the bottom part of that statement where it says, understanding what makes you feel good about yourself helps define your success.
That's right.
So that's where I can connect with on that particular statement is a lot of us, especially through I've decided love helping people. So the more you help, the better you feel. And then that just is an energy boomerang, and you get that back. I mean, karma seems like such a goofy word, karma, but what you put out, you really do get back a lot in life. So being good and you know, helping others. And
I think you know, when you know what it is that makes you feel good, right? And then you intentionally seek out opportunities to fulfill that feeling. That's where the alignment comes in, I think. Absolutely. Right? Is number one, you got to know. And number two is, what are you doing to create more of that feeling within yourself? Right. Yeah, and absolutely. When you're doing that, I think that's when that's going to drive you towards being more successful. Because you're being we use the word a lot. You're being intentional.
Intentional, right? And
you're
clear, really, lucid. Exactly.
Yep. The third question that she came up in her article was about what makes you feel like you're being helpful, right? What makes you feel like you're being helpful? And I think, you know, you need to know that what you're doing is impacting others positively, right? You're giving. You've talked about it earlier. That clearly makes you feel like you're being helpful when you know that. Or whether it's coaching, you know, you're a life coach and you're supporting somebody else, volunteering at your church or whatever it is, you've got to find those opportunities where you're providing help for others.
Oh yeah, and I love the part where it says contributing within your own sphere of influence too. Yes. That's a big thing. Using your own personal platforms, whether it be your family or the YMCA or a magazine. I write for Construction Beauty Magazine, or you know, just there's a lot of different. You know, I've decided.
There's a magazine that's Construction Beauty
Magazine. Wow. It's a local based magazine, about a year old. It's all local women writers. Cool. And so I get to use that to interview women. I interviewed with Kim Martin in January, and I think I interviewed with Cindy Bird in May. Cool. And most recently, Nikki Romaine from Arts Re-envisioning Tomorrow. So I'm able to connect within my sphere of circle and help show others about them as well. So Yeah, it's a good thing.
Yep. Yeah. And when you're helping others, that's fulfilling.
Oh, so fulfilling.
Right. And there's a lot of joy that comes from that, I think, serving the needs of others and helping them out. And I think through that process helps us understand a little bit better about, what makes us happy, what's going to help us be successful.
Oh, yeah. And then with the coaching and mentoring, most recently we had the president and CEO of the local Big Brothers Big Sisters.
Oh, okay.
I think her name was Jamie Truelove.
Yep, Truelove. Yep.
Wow, that was a dynamic speech. I'm not able to give the time right now, but I'm thinking, you know what I mean? Like that seed was planted, and I'm like, what a wonderful thing they do for 400 plus children here in Central Illinois and all across the country, since there's, I think she said 200 locations. That's a big one. That's where coaching and mentoring literally get somebody from, fourth grade, graduating to high school and into the next realm or the next session of life. But that doesn't negate all the little things, whether it's writing an interview, sharing, or being, I'm not sure what your role is at the YMCA.
I'm the CEO.
So you're the CEO. So being in charge of that, or being in charge of the Big Brothers Big Sisters, we all do our part to help others get success.
Yep. So let's talk about joy, because that's the next piece that came up in Kim's article, is understanding what brings you joy.
Yes.
Right. And joy, I think Kim did a good job of framing this up in an article. It's bigger than being happy, right? Because happy is temporary.
Yes.
Right. We can be happy about a lot of things, but those are usually, I think she described as a fleeting moment, right? Yeah. It's brief. Joy is constant, I think, right?
Yes.
You're always feeling good about it. So it's a state of mind, I think, is how she phrased it in the article. And making sure that you're understanding what gives you that feeling.
Oh, yeah. I love it where it says living with a joyful spirit is a big part of a successful life. Some of us are born. I think there's a lot of people that are just kind of born with a happy-go-lucky or more positive outlook on the world.
Yep, sure.
Or
some of us have to work at it. Some of us are born grumpy.
Some of them, like my husband, he's the nicest. Honestly, the nicest person I've ever met in my life. But to be in a state of joy, that peace, he's constantly working really hard, and so joy, it's a choice too. Yeah. It's an intentional choice as well. So you can have that joyful spirit. I think Kim Martin is definitely a good example of someone who has that. Hopefully I do a little bit, but then you have to make the choice when the times are hard.
Her joyful spirit, put it in a pill. Others,
we would love that.
That would be magic, right?
Yes, but it's not fleeting. It's a peace and a calm.
Right. And I really think you hit the nail on the head. It's a choice.
It is a choice.
Right? We have a choice every day of whether we're going to be happy, which is temporary, or joyful even, or just be grumpy.
I know.
Right. And things happen all day long. And, there's a staff member at the Y that just had a situation bubble up at home with some things that went awry at his home. And, the perspective that he shared with me was really great. And that's what it was. He's like, I can either choose to be mad about this, or I can choose to just deal with it and understand that it's going to be better once we take care of all these things. Right. So it's a choice. And every time that we're given a challenge in life, we have a decision to make. Either we're going to push forward and tackle that challenge with a joyful spirit or a happy mindset, or we can let it beat us up and become grumpy. And we know we're going to get through it better if we take the prior, right, and choose a joyful response.
Yes, and I think living in our society during this exact time period with everything that's going on right now, I think it's more important than ever that we have to wake up no matter what circumstances are going on and try to choose that joy.
Yep.
And if you get knocked down, which you always will, the quicker you get back up. I think it's get knocked down 7 times, get up 8. Yeah. And that is, and the more of us that show that examples to other, hopefully our children, our grandchildren and peers will follow that example of just keep getting back up.
Yeah, you can't let the failure define who you are. It's the response to the failure, right? Because we all fail every day. And no matter what we're doing, whether we're playing sports or we're at work or we're at home as a parent or sibling or child or whatever, we're going to fail. It's what do we do to recover from the failure? That defines who we are as an individual.
Oh, absolutely. There's this author. Her name was Corrie ten Boom.
Okay.
And she was a victim. I'm trying to remember. My dad was served in World War II, so it was one of my things that I read about a lot and caught my attention with history. I believe that she and her family helped hide and escape, Jews. Okay. She wasn't Jewish or something. Oh, okay. I don't think, but she did end up in a concentration camp. And her sister said, she was starting to get hateful and angry, of course. I can't even imagine that kind of dire situation. Right. And her sister's like, no, Corrie, don't hate. God is always love. And so she was able to persevere. She was able, that's obviously a bit extreme, but the depth of that, we can, if someone can go through that and still choose joy, we can definitely choose joy.
Yeah, we certainly can when we get a flat tire.
Yes.
Right? Or a car breaks down.
Yes, or it's overheating, or
the electric bill comes in twice as much as it was the prior month.
Yes, exactly.
It is what it is.
That seems to be a new one.
Yeah. It's certainly one that's in the front of my mind right now.
I know. We live out in the country, so we're part propane tank and part electric, but even ours was quite a bit higher, and we haven't really had to worry about it up until now. But
so you just have to adjust, right? You have to live with it. You're not going to change it. You gotta choose to take the joyful response and all those things. And I think that's a big part of being successful, right? Is being intentional and choosing your attitude.
Oh, it is. And then holding that clear, lucid vision in mind, and knowing you're going to get from point A to point B if you do the work every day.
Right.
You will. 9 times out of 10.
With the right perspective, for sure. So the next question that Kim encouraged us to think about is understanding what energizes you, what gives you energy, right? What is it that just gets you excited? And if you can align your actions with those feelings and understand, from a goal mindset of what it is that's going to give you that energy and excitement, then I think you're going to be much more likely to be successful. You got to think about what gives you the motivation.
Oh yeah. For me, I would say when I on my very first business card, before I ever published, before I ever did anything, I wrote out of who I was already. Okay. And one of the words was storyteller. And author, storyteller, motivational speaker. Nice. And that was about 10 or 12 years ago. And I designed the card myself, and I made up a quote on it. And the quote was, discover all the aspects of your soul and let the world deal with it, whatever you find. And so being a storyteller and encouraging others is definitely something that motivates me, whether I'm telling a story, about motivation or history or whatever it is. Coaching, definitely it comes in coaching, and then I like the part in this one where it says remove the energy suckers.
Yeah. We all have
so
those.
We can't avoid them all the time, but you can have you can be intentional and lucid about how often you're going to allow that energy around you, because sometimes it's our family or friends or neighbors. So and then having good people around you. That's right. That's one of the number one things that I've received, and huge blessings that I've decided is a huge community of never-ending people who will be your cheerleader. Yep.
That's critically important. It's for success.
Yes. And hopefully I'm that for other people as well.
I spend a lot of time talking to my kids about that. Who are you spending your time with? Right?
It makes up who you are.
That's right.
It really, really does.
Yep, 100%.
And that doesn't mean we ignore or are mean or anything like that to people who are energy suckers. It just means, hey, you know what? I'm going to be intentional, and I'll spend half an hour with you. Right. And I'm not spending my whole day or whole Saturday with you. Yeah. So we can still love them. It just,
Well, that negative influence distracts us.
Yeah.
Right. And it gives us, I guess, a better opportunity. I'll use that phrase to fail. Right. When we surround ourselves with that. So we have to be very thoughtful and very intentional about who we're spending our time with.
Yes, we do.
And then the last question, and then we'll wrap up is understanding who do you applaud, right? And this is a tough one, I think, or not necessarily tough, but I think there's some context here, right? This isn't about envying what others have, but it's understanding who it is that you know in your life who has success, and what is it about that success that you like, right? And framing that in the perspective of, I want to be successful too, so I want to understand and learn from that individual.
Well, for me, it definitely started with both my parents. Oh my goodness, Don and Joni Crusen. They were just, I lost my mom 11 years ago and dad about 21 years ago. But they were just very intelligent people, very hard workers, had very much empathy for others, but their love and loyalty of 53 years of marriage is what they made it to before my dad passed. And so that's the first one. And then my husband of almost 30 years, Doug, holy cow. The stuff he's accomplished in his life, you go from his childhood and then and then I look at him now, and we grew up about 5 blocks apart from each other.
Oh, wow.
And he was always where I was. We didn't know each other that well till we were in our early 20s, but he is definitely somebody I can't believe he can accomplish the things he can do. And then outside of my family, a couple people from I've decided who really, really were huge influences on me have been Kim Martin and Cindy Bird and Kurt White. And Jackie Greer Buchanan. And that's just a few. But the way that they are able to continually show up and continually help others, and they're always pushing. And I like that train ride. I want to be always pushing and moving ahead and rising, elevating as much as I can in every day that I have on this earth. So that's who I thought.
That's a great example. And that's exactly what I think was being stated in the article, is understanding who that is, what it is they're doing that you like, that you would like to emulate or have some of that similar success, and how they go about doing that. So leaning into those individuals and using that as motivation for yourself, I think is critically important. So, well, this has been good conversation. I appreciate you being here and joining us. And I think you have a book that's coming out, don't you, that we want to talk with people about. Tell us about that.
I would love to. So I have been working behind the scenes. So I've self-published 2 books. One was a children's book called Serendipity Song, and the second one was a historic nonfiction called Footprints of Our Forefathers, which is about my ancestors' treks from Europe and Eastern United States and how they ended up in Peoria in the early days, with another lady named Lisa Gavin. And then this one, I was able to get a contract with a Reedy Publishing in St. Louis. And it's a book called 100 Things to Do in Peoria Before You Die.
Oh, boy.
And they have been doing this book.
Is the YMCA on that
list? I don't know. But I was able to get a lot of, because it's not just the 100 vignettes. It's a lot of side mentions and tips and itineraries. But it's really funny because I was able to get the gig. So we say the daughter of somebody that went to grade school with my husband and I at St. Mark's. My husband was 1 year older. Her daughter worked at Reedy Publishing in St. Louis and said, Mom, her mom was from Peoria. Hey, do you know any history writers or anybody in Peoria who's a cheerleader for Peoria? And she's like, yeah, Molly, Doug's wife Molly does. And that's how I got the contract last year. And it comes out October 1st. And I should have it in hand November 1st. I'm booking events starting November 1st and on. I have to do a minimum of 5. Hopefully I'll just do them for a whole year and just have a lot of fun promoting tons and tons of great things about Peoria.
100 things
to do in Peoria before you die. They've done this book in over 100 cities for over a decade. So really? I'm part of a well-oiled machine, and I'm so blessed to be able to, have made that connection.
That's really
and
cool.
It was definitely divine design, because it could have been another. We have tons of great writers here in Central Illinois.
Sure.
And I definitely am a cheerleader for Peoria. I'm always trying to do, behind the scenes or where in front of the scenes, however I can do to try to make wherever I walk a little better, and focus on the good things. But there's tons of stuff. One of the fun facts is we have over 9,000 acres of parks here in Peoria.
We do have a lot.
9,000 acres. That stands out in the Midwest.
Is that just Peoria, or are you talking the region?
That's Peoria County.
Wow.
Just Peoria Park District. I'm sorry. Yeah. Peoria Park District has over 9,000 acres of parks. And that's a huge park system.
Yes,
and we're so blessed.
One of the largest in the country, I believe.
I think so. I think it's one of the top in the country. And the fact that we've been able to hold on to that green space and continue to keep it. And that is a tourist, people come here. Our history, the historic things in the book. I love historic commerce because I like old things. I like history, and I like antiques, and I like old houses and buildings. Okay. So our history, historic commerce, that's something else that draws people, that can draw people from around the country. We're within half an hour or so of Banner Marsh, and about less than an hour from Emiquon. Emiquon is on I don't have it handy, it's been a while, but it's on the worldwide stage of a nature site of a specific kind. And the fact that that's within our Peoria. We have Three Sisters Park that has a summer camp in the the Spider Hill, and tons
of resources in the region.
And then we have tons. I tried to get as many local mom and pop shops in there as possible.
Yeah, that's cool.
So as many as I could.
Probably was hard to get it to 100.
I started off, when I first sat down with the list, I sat down with Kim, I sat down with my husband, and it was really within an hour or two, I had over 300 things. Yeah. And whittling it down to the top ones that would get the vignette, I had to use my gut, and I had to use my insight, and also what I love. So some of the things are things that I love, and some are things that I just think are special to Peoria that maybe might not be my favorite, but highlight Peoria. Our warehouse district, Connected, Cafe Santa Rosa. Those
you
are
can't
just
share everything. You want people to read the book, right?
There's 100 plus, because the coffee shop. So I will say Cafe Santa Rosa is the lead coffee shop. I will reveal that. But on the other page, there's a list of like 7 or 8 other coffee shops. Okay. So when I like so many of them, I love coffee meetings. But their story and their humanitarian efforts in the world are why I picked that particular one. So, cool.
Well, thanks for sharing that. I look forward to seeing that. And hopefully we made the cut.
Yes.
If not, we can get into volume 2 maybe down the road.
Yes.
Right?
Hopefully they'll use me for volume 2.
Well, Molly, thanks to you for joining me.
Thank you.
Here at I've Decided Studios and on our community. And it's been great to talk with you. And it's time for us to wrap up now, but I look forward to seeing your book, and maybe we'll catch you at one of these events and get a copy of it here starting in October. Is that right?
November 1st. You can pre-order now. So okay. I'll put it on the I've Decided page.
Yeah, very good. All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. We look forward to seeing you next month here on Our Community.
Thank you.